Most of us living in America use inches, centimeters, and millimeters as a form of measurement. But in the design world, there are other forms of measurement that you need for precise designing. When it comes to text, those forms are points and picas. At first, it may seem a little bit of a crazy system, but overall, it's really not that hard to learn. The number one reason to learn how to use them is that it's a more precise measurement than any other measurement when it comes to type. A lot of people like to use millimeters, but a point is 1/3 the size of a millimeter. So as you can see, it's actually really small. In fact, you can fit 72 of them in a single inch. And as you'll see, it's great for precision and detailing in small things like type. In fact, majority of the Adobe software uses points to measure font sizes and leading and other line spacing. And since line spacing is defined by points, it is also helpful to spec other spacing pieces in points too, such as margin indentions or space between or after paragraphs. The more you use points, the easier it is to ensure your spacing is consistent throughout your document. A lot of people try to say that a point is the same size as a pixel on the screen, but that's just a myth. Screen pixels come in a range of sizes, and these days, they're usually way smaller than a single point. But, that said, for historical reasons, most images that are saved for the web are set to 72 pixels per inch, and that is exactly the same as a point. Let's break this down. There are 72 points in an inch, or about 3 points in a millimeter, or 29 points in a centimeter. So working with points is pretty straightforward. But what about picas? Well, picas is where most designers start to get confused because there are 12 points in a pica, just like there are 12 inches in a foot. So that means a pica is about 4 millimeters, or about 1/16 of an inch. It's not really that hard, but it takes some time to get used to. Now, when you work with picas and points, you'll see measurements like 3p0, which means 3 picas and 0 points. So this is the same as half an inch or 12.7 millimeters. But where it really gets helpful is when you want to add just a little bit, because it's all about precision, right? So for example, 3p2, which stands for 3 picas and 2 points, is a lot easier to type than 0.5278 inches or 13.406 millimeters. So we as designers will use picas and points for type and for positioning things on a page. But for page sizing and anything like that, we're going to continue to use inches because it's a lot easier to say 8.5 by 11 inch document instead of referring to it in picas. So go ahead and start working on using the language of picas and points. You'll find it's hard for the first few semesters, but soon you'll understand why designers have for decades used this form of measurement when talking about type in graphic design.